Coffin birth, known in academia by the more accurate term post-mortem fetal extrusion, is the expulsion of non-viable fetus through the vaginal opening of the decomposing body of a deceased pregnant woman as a result of the increasing pressure of intra-abdominal gases. This kind of post-mortem delivery occurs very rarely during the decomposition of a body. The practice of chemical preservation, whereby chemical preservatives and disinfectant solutions are pumped into a body to replace natural bodily fluids, have made the occurrence of coffin birth so rare that the topic is very rarely mentioned in international medical discourse. Typically, during the decomposition of a human body, naturally occurring bacteria in the organs of the abdominal cavity, such as the stomach and intestines, generate gases as byproducts of metabolism, which causes the body to swell. In some cases, the confined pressure of the gases can squeeze the uterus, even forcing it downward, and it may turn inside out and be forced out of the body through the vaginal opening, a process called prolapse. If a fetus is contained within the uterus, it could therefore be expelled from the mother's body through the vaginal opening when the uterus turns inside out, in a process that, to outward appearances, mimics childbirth. The main differences lie in the state of the mother and the fetus and the mechanism of delivery. In the event of a natural live childbirth, the mother's contractions encourage the infant to emerge from the womb. In a case of coffin birth, built-up gas pressure within the putrefied body of a pregnant woman pushes the dead fetus from the body of the mother. Cases have been recorded by medical authorities since the 16th century, though some archaeological cases provide evidence for its occurrence in many periods of human history. While cases of post-mortem fetal expulsion have always been rare, the phenomenon has been recorded under disparate circumstances. It is occasionally seen in a modern forensic context when the body of a pregnant woman lies undisturbed and undiscovered for some time following death. There are numerous examples that have demonstrated that the term coffin birth is a misnomer under many circumstances. There are also cases whereby a fetus may become separated from the body of the pregnant woman about the time of death or during decomposition, though because those cases are not consistent with the processes described here, they are not considered true cases of post-mortem fetal extrusion. Numerous documented cases of post-mortem fetal extraction were described in the medical compendium Anomalies and Curiosities of Medicine, first published in 1896. The earliest presented case occurred in 1551 when a pregnant woman was tried and hanged by the courts of the Spanish Inquisition. 4 hours after her death, and while the body still hung by the neck, 2 dead infants were seen to fall free of the body. This is unusual for the short amount of time elapsed between death and the post-mortem delivery. In the city of Brussels, in 1633, a woman died in convulsions, and 3 days later the fetus was spontaneously expelled. In Wissenfels, in 1861, post-mortem fetal extrusion was observed 60 hours after the death of a pregnant woman. Other cases are described, though only a few describe the unexpected discovery of fetal remains following exhumation. Most cases occurred prior to burial, and in some of these the body was in a casket, while in other cases the body was still on its deathbed. In 2005, the body of a 34-year-old woman, 8 months pregnant, was discovered in her apartment in Hamburg, Germany. The body was bloated and discolored, and upon initial examination, it was found that the head of the fetus made its appearance in the vaginal opening. At autopsy, medical examiners found that both the head and shoulders of the fetus had emerged, and concluded that it was a case of post-mortem fetal extrusion in progress. The woman, who had given birth twice before, had died of a heroin overdose. The case was unusual and serendipitous, as few medical practitioners had been able to observe and document the progress of post-mortem fetal extrusion. In 2008, the body of a 38-year-old woman, 7 months pregnant, was discovered in an open field 4 days after she had disappeared from her residence in Panama. A plastic bag had been left over her head, and she had been gagged. The case was ruled a homicide. The body had suffered from the tropical heat and high humidity and was bloated and highly discolored. At autopsy, the remains of the fetus were discovered in the woman's undergarments. Although the fetus was in a similar state of decomposition, the umbilical cord was intact and still attached to the placenta inside the uterus.